Oh boy, I feel freaking drained. Dear God, I really need something happy to actually bring up my spirits or something right now. Before I actually get onto that, I thought I'd tell you all about a movie that I just saw in theaters right now called Northman. I didn't like it. Quite bluntly, I didn't like it. Like, let me premise that it is objectively good in a lot of ways. In fact, it might be have an objectively good quality overall to it. But subjectively, it's pretty detestable, actually. Pretty unlikable. So, let me explain on that. So, The Northman is a tragic story that takes place in Norse pagan Europe. Those parts of Dark Age Europe, anyways. It's a tragic revenge story following this one guy who this ain't real big spoilers, whose father is like killed by his uncle, kind of in the same way of Lion King almost. And he goes on a bit of a revenge quest for his father, or eventually, anyways, because I guess there's like some years that he is like dilly dallying on actually getting back to that. But nonetheless, that's the basic premise of the movie. Now, let me get out of the way all the good things I can say about the movie. Like, the fight scenes were, as far as I can tell, they were very realistically choreographed. And they were also intense and gritty as well at the same time. So they were kind of fun and brutal to watch in their own sort of, I guess, kind of cathartic manner. Also, the acting was pretty real. Like, I am not going to knock anybody on acting performance. As far as I saw from here, it was pretty realistic. Not a wooden performance or fake performance to be seen on screen. And Also the pagan Norse rituals that they gonna portraying in this movie were probably the most real world probably seen on screen for any mainstream movie. Um, Aside from documentaries and stuff, this movie probably beats out all other movies as far as the realism of Norse pagan rituals. And there's a lot of them that are put forth in this movie. Let me tell you, people. And I will also say that Olga, I think Olga is her name. That's the name of the girl that Almeth, who is the main protagonist of the movie. That's the main girl that Almeth falls in love with. She's very pretty, especially in the face, and she's probably the closest thing that this movie comes to a likable character, quite frankly. And that is where that this movie really, quite frankly, falters for me. Like, there's a whole lot of other things that would make this movie falter for other people in a lot of other ways. Like, if you're one of those um I guess tradcon conservatives or old lady, you're going to obviously get squeamish about the violence. And I will say that some of the violence did go kind of over the top. But then again, I kind of said the same thing about Suicide Squad 2021. But there was a whole lot of other good things that kind of outweighed the violence. But that's not a real big thing on me. And also the pagan rituals, they got a little bit too weird and just kind of cringy to where, yeah, it would make anybody cringe just to be watching them unfold. And they were like really disturbing. Um, there was also the fact that there was an incest scene. Yeah, that's not so much spoilers, but it's like, it's very disturbing. Like, you can forget about Luke and Leia in the Star Wars original trilogy. This movie takes it to another level. Like, it probably takes it to a level that even Game of Thrones did not take it. Just a forewarning to anybody who wants to go out of the way watching this movie, there is an incest scene. I'm not going to say between who, just for the sake of avoiding spoilers. Overall spoilers, anyways. I guess telling that there's an incest scene in general is a kind of a spoiler, but it happens. Just a forewarning for everybody. A very disgusting incest scene. And There's also the fact that, honestly, some of the dialogue was like so mumbly, grumbly, and just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Indistinguishable. That's not the word that I'm looking for. Um, I cannot forget. I cannot remember what the adjective is, but it was unclear for me to be able to tell. It was like if Sylvester Stallone was to talk in a Norse accent. Like, and people like to knock on Sylvester Stallone for him being pretty incomprehensible with the way that he speaks in his movies. Like, if you were to watch Critical Drinker's review of the latest Rambo movie, Rambo Last Blood, he goes saying of how that he was pretty, um, you could not tell of what he was saying in that one part where that he goes talking to, what's her name? I cannot remember who she is. It's the surrogate daughter figure that Sylvester Stallone goes, kind of adopting or taking under his wing, so forth. Like, some of the dialogue can be pretty incomprehensible in the movie. Maybe that was intentional. Maybe a lot of the things that I'm calling bad aspects of this movie, maybe they were intentional. And for that matter, this movie did its job. And I am kind of getting ahead of myself with some other things I wanted to mention. But the thing that really falters for me with this movie, everything else aside, was the fact that there was no really likable, relatable, or investable characters throughout this movie, aside from maybe Olga. But even she might have been somewhat underdeveloped for her to be actually memorable. But everyone else, like, let me start with the protagonist, Almeth, actually. Have any of y'all seen The Last Kingdom from Netflix? Which, speaking of which, I got to, go back and finish that series myself. Because it is a good series from what all I can tell. But basically, Almeth in The Northman is basically like Uhtred from The Last Kingdom, except with no personality. That's the best way I can sum up his character. And all the side characters, everyone else was a varying degree of either being a super dull and unmemorable, or being super freaking detestable. Well, there is absolutely no fun banter or anything else like that. A whole lot of very, very questionable moral compasses and so forth. And yeah, that's where this movie falters for me. But for what I can tell, this movie is a cautionary, tragic tale about the horrors and evils of revenge, of seeking revenge. And with that said, and all the other bad stuff, taking in that one thing into consideration, and all the other things that I call bad about this movie, it might have well been intentional, some of the bad things. If that's the case, on that point, this movie, as far as I can tell, did its job well. It did do its job very well in saying how revenge is bad. Like, no shit, really. But at the same time, if I was to bring forth another movie that I have reviewed, not on this YouTube channel, Dark Con Entertainment here, but I've reviewed it in writings, actually. I need to post it on Letterboxd, actually. But there's a movie called Brothers, which is also a kind of a tragic tale, showing the brutal, honest truth about soldier PTSD, with soldiers coming back from war and so forth. I do not like Brothers. I do not adore Brothers just because it's telling the brutal, honest truth. I like it because it had good and relatable and investable characters in it that helps carry that that very well told story. That helps carry that story. Whereas the Northman, there was no good character to carry that story. So that's the best way that I can really sum up my opinion of the Northman. So, how do I rank it? Some people will probably not like how I'm going to rank this, but 6 out of 10. Objectively good, but subjectively detestable. And if you're going to go ahead and watch this, this is just my warning to you about the movie. If you want to have the very soul sucked out of you, if you want to really be told quite frankly, a real story that happens or happened, well then go ahead and watch this movie. But I warn you, it is not that likable of a movie. Anyways, But I am Zach of Dark Heart Entertainment. I'm going to get on with my night and find something actually good to do. See y'all later and God bless.